Dear viewers, we are back again, and Stan Montsho is connecting. As I said earlier, apologies for this connection issues. Stan Montsho is an award-winning writer from South Africa, and as I said, this is going to be a Pan-African session of Sip and Chat. So Stan Montsho will join us direct from South Africa to discuss his book, and it's titled "Mommy Touched Me." Stan Montsho, how are you?
Hey, Atem, I'm fine, thanks, and you?
I'm fine, thank you. Happy to have you here.
I'm grateful to be here. It's been a long time
It's
for
been a
me
long
wanting
time
to
indeed.
talk.
Thank you.
Yes.
I've been telling our audience Stan Montsho is a South African award-winning writer and is a
Yeah,
Pan-African. So this is going to be a Pan-African session of Sip and Chat.
definitely, definitely. I think we're crossing the borders. We just want to
Yeah,
cover the whole African continent.
definitely. Stan Montsho, I'm really impressed with the book you wrote, Mommy Touched Me. And we've been talking about this book for some time. Briefly tell our audience who is Stan Montsho. I don't know whether I pronounce your name well. Stan Montsho, right?
This then Montsho,
Montsou.
Montsho,
Montsou,
yeah.
okay. Tell us briefly who is Stan Montsou.
Well, Stan Montsho is just an ordinary person who is motivated by change, who is motivated by wanting to see the world becoming a better place. I started as a speechwriter. I'm a village, child. I love reading. I started as a speechwriter, and then I felt if I can write a speech for somebody, then definitely I can then convert the message that I have been getting through the books that I have seen. And I think I call myself a messenger. I call myself a mainstream that connect people. I call myself a channel that brings a message from one point to the other.
Wow, that is very interesting, Stan, and I'm really proud of a person in you because you know South Sudanese also are trying to write their stories, and South Africans are part of the Pan-African movement, and we are happy to hear from you about the book "Mommy Touched Me." When was this book published, and what came into your mind? What made you think of writing such kind of a wonderful book for children, especially, and those who might abuse children one way or the other? What inspired you, and when was that?
Well, I think the story that inspired the book at him is, when we were young, my cousin came running from a neighbor's house, and then he said the lady next door wanted to give him sweets, and then he wanted him to do some stuff with her. And it was strange at the time because as children, we did not necessarily understand what they meant when we
Yeah.
say somebody wants to touch me and all of those things. And then somehow we felt, as boys, maybe should have taken that opportunity. Maybe that is the right way to. But at the end of the day, the cognitive ability of a child, the mindset of a child is not prepared to be exposed to certain things at a particular age. And I think that's what motivated me to say, who else is affected by this, but then was not able to run away? Who else is being done this thing, but was not able to run away? But then, luckily, when we then developed this book, my illustrator and my designer said, "Oh, this I think will make so much sense because the helper did this to me." So I think there's a lot of boys out there who would say, somebody did this to me. I did not understand. And then I think my designer is saying, I felt it was a good thing to do
Yeah.
until somebody told me, no, that is not how we behave as human beings. But it had already
Yeah.
taken its toll on my mind, on my emotions, because I have developed a feeling of entitlement. I have developed a feeling of I can just take over. I don't have
Yeah.
to ask anybody out. Every person that I see in the street, if I wanted to touch them, I can touch them because I was socialized into touching people without asking. So I think that is what is motivating
Wow.
the book to say somehow we need to unlearn certain behavior because somebody socialized that behavior into us, and now the society is breaking down because we've got so many people that think they're entitled to abusing women, to raping women, to doing stuff with women because that's just the way they think the world works, and the world does not work
Definitely.
that way. And the book is about cautioning that, to say this is not how the world works.
Exactly. So you talk of unlearning some behaviors that we have adapted as we grow up, and this is quite interesting, Stan, because me as an African child, I can relate with what you are doing. I can relate with the book because at some point of my life, I've been interacting with people, and there are ways I've seen things being done which I thought were normal until you go to a different setting and you realize that whatever you were doing is offending others. So unlearning these kind of traits that we learn as we grow up, how easy could that be?
It won't be easy because it all depends on an individual, and learning cannot be forced on anybody.
Yeah.
Just like relearning cannot be forced on anybody, just like unlearning cannot be forced on anybody. But I think we have to continue to become a supportive structure. There needs to be a supportive structure that ensures that when we continue to communicate this, we give context to it to say what exactly do we mean when we say you can learn a behavior, you can unlearn the behavior, and you can relearn a new behavior. And I think we have to be very explicit when we're saying learn,
Yeah.
because somebody must not be ambiguous about what is it that they have to learn. But then if somebody would have gone, for example, a sexual molestation, a rape, or being touched in an appropriate manner, I think the book then provides an understanding to say, um, by the way, that is not how it is supposed to be. Human beings do not behave like that. And then the question then will come and say, how do then human beings behave? And then that is when then you will then say, no. As human beings, there's a way in which we regulate sexual behavior in children,
Yeah.
because we have to get them to a point where they understand what is it that they are doing. And
Yeah.
also, I think also bringing in the fact of there's pregnancies, there's other things that are involved whenever people engage in sexual behavior. But then also there are diseases and other elements that are there. So I think we have to put context to that. And I
Yeah.
think then it goes also back to say, what is it that our children are learning in school in terms of sex education? What is it that we're teaching our children in terms of sex education at home? So that then they are able to repeal whatever that somebody is bringing to them to say, no, this is not what my parents taught me at home. This is not what my teacher taught me at home. We don't behave like that
Yeah.
at home. I am not of a sexual age. I cannot do that. In as much as I like what you are saying to me, whoever is saying that to me, I am not of a sexual age. But then also, I think the child should be empowered enough to say, is there a channel for them to report if they are coerced, if they are pushed, if they are forced to do things that they cannot do? And I think part of what the book is saying is that um, if as parents at home we do not create a conducive environment for our children to come back and say, uncle so and so did this to me, then they will end up keeping quiet. And then I think that is where we are. A whole lot of people are keeping quiet, a whole lot of people have kept quiet, and a lot of people are going to continue to keep quiet. But then there is an explosion that is, building inside the mindset, the soul of those people. And
Yeah.
imagine if everybody were to explode because they are carrying so much pain that was created by violence that was not supposed to come to them. And
Definitely.
because also they don't have a platform where they can be able to say all of these things. So I think that
Yeah.
is what we are saying.
Wow, that is interesting, Stan. Because one thing also I've realized in the book, like when I read the preface you sent me, is that this book is cautioning the parents on how they should be, behaving around the children, but also is giving children some guidelines. If someone touch you inappropriately, what do you do? But in a situation, in a setting like African setting, is the same everywhere. And I know very well at some point, children do not have voices. Like if you look at my setting as South Sudanese, there are places where I cannot speak out. Even if I'm telling the truth, who will listen to me? So in such situation, how will it be helpful to, to have this book? Because I know it's very interesting, but there are some cultures that do not allow a child to speak out. And even if the child is having the courage to say that I'm not happy with this, the same community will shut that child down. And you mentioned it very well in the book. You said that some family members have become judges they take the role of judges and they want to make sure these things are done in a different way. They don't refer cases where there's need. So how would that really be helpful? And how can we avoid such situation where a family will not listen to a child as culturally, believed?
Now that is true. At the family will usually call a family meeting and say this is how we're going to resolve it.
Yeah.
And there's always, this whole thing of we cannot uh, hang our dirty laundry in the streets and all of those things for people to see. Where a child do not have a platform for them to communicate, then in Africa we always say a child is the child of a village, is the child of a community, is the child of the world. So
Yeah.
we have to create a conducive environment, either in the churches where young people go to Sunday school, in their own school, and then other supportive groups that are there,
Yeah.
where a child can be able to raise their voices. So I have to be the parents of your children, and then you have to be the parents of my children, so that if I'm doing anything wrong to my children, then they can come to Uncle Atem and say, Uncle Atem, my father, the one that you are drinking with, the one that you are watching soccer with, is doing these things to me, and I've got no voices. So it
Yeah.
cannot be that from your side the channel is locked, and from my side the channel is locked. So yes, certain families, like you said, they will behave like that. But then where there is a platform outside of a family structure, definitely a child will then be able to find a voice. And then equally for a child, we should then encourage them to be able to speak up. Because sometimes, yes, there could be a channel, but then it is, how do I phrase this thing? How do I say these things? So they should be able to say that this is what would have happened to me. And I think it also extends to the police stations that we have at to say,
Yeah.
are the police station very sensitive and responsive to somebody who would make a call and say, me as a child, this is what would have happened to me. Instead of a police officer saying, okay, no, it's fine, let me call your parents. They must come and report what they did to you on your behalf, rather than, okay, yeah, because that is what they say. It's like, you don't have a right
Yes.
as a child to come and report this thing. I will call your parents to come and report. So I think also those security channels also have to be open for children to be able to speak out. The social services programs that are there, they should make it easily that there is inspectors, for example, that comes to school to
Yeah.
observe children from psychological point of view and say, why is that child always sitting by themselves? Because yes, we already know certain behaviors and reflex that will be raised whenever a child goes through certain emotions. Why
Yeah.
is this child eating nails? Why is this child, you know, why is it jumpy like that? What is there should be something that is happening to the child. And then when there's that, then we open a channel and we do it very sensitively, because remember, a sexual abuse can be very embarrassing to somebody to say,
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be a child. I'm not supposed to have done this thing. If I mention it, I'm going to be an embarrassment for the community, for my parents, for everybody. So you're fighting against being an embarrassment, and then also fighting to speak the truth so that you can be able to get help. So I think that
Okay.
is also what it's saying. But then numbers and lines and channels have to be readily available for the children to voice their help. And then somebody was saying to me, I tend to say, sometimes parents can use a child against the other parents if the relationship is not good. Like, for example, saying the father has touched the child wrongfully, whereas it is the mother who wants to, spoil the job opportunity for a father. And yes, we have seen cases like that where a child will come forward and say, "But my father touched me, or somebody has touched me,"
Yeah.
whereas it is not true.
Yeah.
So I think we can still also look at those things, but I think that does not necessarily have to stop the
Yeah.
whole process of child, or the channels that are there for children to be able to voice the pain. that they are going through. Yes.
Definitely. So now we're talking about unlearning some behaviors, and what behaviors can we relearn? Because as much as we are trying to unlearn some behaviors that are inappropriate to children, what behaviors do we replace them with? What behaviors do we need to relearn to change this perspective and to change this kind of mindset among our communities? Because of course, as we unlearn these things, we need to relearn some things.
No, definitely. If I have learned, unfortunately, by socialization or wrongful socialization, that a woman can be touched or groped in the lift or can be talked to in every manner that I want to because I'm entitled to do that. If I have learned that I can beat up a woman, if I have learned that I can strangle a woman, I can demand sex from her without any consideration, we can relearn that that is not how we do things as a community. We can
Yeah.
start to learn to be, or relearn to be sympathetic, relearn to understand that a woman before they become a woman, a man before they become men, they are human beings and they have to be treated with humility and they have to be treated with love and they have to be treated with affection. And that, in a way, create a family. It creates a community. We don't create a community in violence. We don't create a community in insults. We don't create a community in belittling each other and all of those. So I think that is what we have to learn to say
Okay.
unity is one thing that brings us together as the human nation. And I think that's why I did correctly say before we become anything, we are human beings. So
Yes.
humanity, our right to humanity has to always stand. So I think that is what we have to learn. But then also the understanding that as a person, you in South Africa we say motho ke motho ka batho ba bang. We I think that is basically the Ubuntu philosophy that you are because of other people. So you
Yes.
have to understand that at some point as a human being, I have to rely upon other people's strength. Just like I can rely on,
Yeah.
or they can rely on my strength as well. We are sharing knowledge. At some point, I have to keep quiet and listen, and that is how human being work. To say you will not be complete on your own. We were not meant to be complete on our own. So we
Yeah.
have to always welcome other ideas, welcome other people, and that's basically what we have to relearn. That
Yeah.
we are human beings of shortfalls, but then we are mortal beings. At some point, we are going to leave this planet. If, for
Yeah.
example, we have children, and the partners and the wives that we have are not in a position that will be able to take care of these children that are supposed to be us, then in a way we are killing our own self, we are killing
Most
our
definitely.
own generations, we are killing our own names. So that's basically what we have to learn at it.
Thank you. I'm surprised to notice that you are not selling this book. You are giving it out from your point of humanity. You want to share this book with more, more kids as much as you can, and of course that is a big sacrifice from your side. Each and every author would want to generate some revenue from the writings, but you decided to say, okay, fine, I'm going to give out this book for free. Uh, what do you say about that? It's really a very good gesture of humanity, and it shows how concerned you are when it comes to this subject. So, what gave you that idea of saying, okay, fine, if I'm selling it, it might not reach more people, so let me give it out.
No, definitely. I think sometimes we tend to say we want to become the best sellers and everything like that. But then we say, who are you selling this thing to? Is the child that you are targeting, will they be able to afford this thing? Uh, yes, maybe the parents may say, okay, we choose to not buy bread today and then buy the book, and then hopefully we'll then read it for a child. But then when you immediately make it to available to a child, then you know exactly what you're talking about. Because in every message, there is a time of reviewing whether the message was read well, the message was received well. And I think that is where I came to say not we shouldn't be the people who just want to sell, sell, sell all the time,
Yeah.
besides understanding this, where the message is going. And I think deliberately also, Atem, is that I think you mentioned well to say somehow in the African culture, we know for sure that we've got child-headed households. So there are
Yeah.
no parents there. We've got children that have got limitations and things have been done to them, and they don't understand. They're growing up with that kind of violence and everything in their heads. So why don't you make a tool available to them immediately, so that then they can be able to be saved if they have to be
Yeah.
saved? Because when you
Yeah.
save one child, you're saving a generation of children. So I think that is basically what we say. So what we say is that all we want is just to get, for example, a sponsor who will make the printout, and then I will go to the school, and then I will not necessarily just distribute, because this book is not only about distributing, but we're giving it
Yeah.
context to say, when we say touch, it's not a normal touch when a parent is bathing you at night. There's more. And then we explain what this more is and all of those. So I think that is the partnership that we're looking for. And then I think we'll move from one place to the other. I will be in South Sudan at some point, and then at that time I would have gotten a partner who would have printed some books. I will be in some school, and then I will teach there, and I'll move to Tanzania and other places, and I think in Kenya, and then I'll move to the west of Africa and other places as well, and even beyond the world. And then and then just send the message too to say, firstly, to our community, not everything is about me gaining money,
Yeah.
but about making sure that the message is transmitted. And when we start to see change, then that is the wealth. That will be the wealth
Exactly.
that we have.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes.
So, Stan, we wish you all the best, and we hope you get partners as soon as possible. This is a very good cause to pursue, and we wish you all the best. Before we end this call, there's one thing we do on Sit and Chat. We always ask, what are three things that somebody did not know about Stan? I might have known you for some time, but what are three things that nobody outside here knows about you?
Well, definitely, I think most people don't know that I am an actor.
Okay.
Most people don't know that I I don't know if it makes sense, but then I'm just a very quiet person who doesn't smoke, who doesn't drink. Most people will not necessarily know that. Well, I suppose reading is obvious because you can't write without reading. But then I was in diplomacy, so I was part of the African Union. So
Okay.
so when I talk about Africa and some of the issues that are happening on the continent, then I understand what I'm talking about, because I was working on the African multilateral issues. So I think I've been to the Ethiopia, where the African Union is based. I've been to many countries in the world as well, and then
Okay.
I do have an understanding of what is it that we're working. I'm in the Tukul school. I think John is going to be very angry if I don't mention. And
It's okay.
yes, and it is going to be also angry if you don't mention that they were in the writers forum as well. And I think we have started. Adit is doing a great job with school children there, and we're trying to empower them. So you've mentioned that the stories in South Sudan are so many, and then I think there's also a channel that is required in terms of publishing and making sure that those stories come out. And I think that is also the channel that we are helping out. So yeah, I'm almost working towards being a humanitarian. So I think that is most probably the last one. Yeah.
That is quite interesting. No, Stan,
Yeah.
is a good thing that you have mentioned the Tukul and other things that you were engaging in and you're part of. I was talking to John last week, and he was very impressed to mention you in our own private conversation. And you have made a lot
Definitely.
of friends in South Sudan, and I'm happy that you feel at home here. And people like John look up to you, and they're proud of you. through your engagements with them, do you feel like one day you will have a fellowship, writing fellowship with South Sudanese? Because South Sudan is a growing nation, and we have come out of conflict, and we're trying to build this country, and that needs support of our neighboring countries and our African brothers and sisters. Do you feel one day you will be privileged to mentor young South Sudanese authors who want to be like you?
No, we have started. We're not going to do it in the future. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working with Alith. Alith is already leading that
Okay.
side. And I think when I come that side, then I will just join the train that is there. I mean, she's set up this whole thing. She's working hard on it. I mean, she's
Yeah.
one person also that we look up to. She's very strong. She's a leader, and I'm also, from a women human point of view. I mean, so I think we are going to follow through on something that is already there, that
Definitely.
Alith is doing. And yeah, I'm going to join a train that is already there. Whenever I get a chance, I'm just going to say to the guys, please give me direction. Where can I go, and where can I help? And I think, yeah, I think I'm hoping that it will be soon that I'm going to, catch a flight and come there, and
Thank
also
you a
try
lot.
to
We're
make.
expecting you here.
Definitely,
Thanks a lot,
definitely.
Stan. And what is your last message to South Sudanese and to Africans? We believe that at some point we'll be Africans, regardless of our differences and our
Yeah.
ethnicities. So, what is your last message?
No, I think the last message to Africa and South Sudanese is, keep raising that voice. That will be a change in a future. Keep, trying to influence some of the channels that might look blocked, or doors that might look locked at this point in time. Influence them. Let's try to do it as much as possible peacefully, because we cannot afford any violence. We cannot afford anything else.
Yeah.
Let's raise the voice, and let's use the channels that are there in the country. If not, let's use the channels that are outside of the country, so that through peace, through unity, we can be able to get to the destination that we want. I'm sure in the mind of every child of South Sudan, I think there's a desire to see certain things happening, and it is in their hands to make that change. They can, through dialogue, through many things, through communication. I think we've started that they can see, change in their community. And like I said, whatever is done, it has to be done peacefully, because anything violent will just set us back. And I think it goes to the whole of the continent as well. To say,
Yeah.
let the children, let the youth find their voices in the and they have to force it if it is not there. Force your voice, because at the end of the day, the future is in your hands.
Definitely.
Make a contribution in making a direction towards what you're going to want to see in the future. Because if you don't, then it means somebody's going to craft a future that you won't, appreciate, that you won't know anything about, that you won't necessarily even want to be into. So I think, force your way into it, make it happen. But then also know that when you make it happen, it's not only about you, but then also about the generations that are going to come after you.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Stan. And dear viewers, this was Stan, an award-winning writer, the author of Mommy Touched Me, very interesting book, both for the parents and even for the kids, and to learn and guide them on how they should not be touched, or if at all it happened, what do you do, and at least to make sure at least you're heard as a child. And as we said earlier, African setting is full of barriers to how children can voice out their concerns. This is quite interesting, Stan, and wish you all the best. And we hope to receive some copies when you get the sponsor here. We'll be happy to share the copies. I have kids whom I would love to read this book and learn a few things about how they can take care of themselves and how they can avoid things that they feel are not right or inappropriate. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. We hope to see you soon on Sip and Chat, and please feel at home. South Sudan is your second home. As you can see, a lot of friends whom you interact with, and that is quite interesting. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and thank you so much.
Oh, thank you very much. Don't wait for me. Get that sponsor to print the books. I will send the book to you. You can print. This is the book, and then yeah, and then let's see what we do. You don't have to wait
Thank
for
you.
me to get a sponsor. If somebody can already say we can be able to print, I will send it through, and then that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a comment from one of our viewers Mawood Jr. is saying that the future belongs to youth. However, Stan, you are great inspire to us as Tukul and WWF family. Is a young person who is also aspiring to be a writer. He has a book,
Yeah.
and next week we'll
Yeah.
be talking to him here about his journey as a writer and what
Yeah.
inspired him. So this is quite interesting. You can see a lot of people who really get impressed when they see you talking about writing, and this is quite interesting. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, and see you next time.
Thank you so much for the
Thanks.
opportunity.